Now, I have a question for the audience. How many of you feel that, for example, in terms of the job boards that you deploy today, that you know 100% what your return of investment is on those job boards? And let me phrase this question like this. Let us say that you are spending 500 euros a month on job board A and another 500 euros on job board B in a given month. You get X candidates retrieved via job board A and Y candidates via job board B. How many of you would say that you know exactly at the end of the day, because you are not necessarily getting the same amount of candidates via the given job board, but you are spending equal amount of money, so therefore the return on investment between the various job boards can be quite dramatically differentiated? How many of you in the audience would say that you know exactly what your cost of an application is which you receive via the respective job boards that you use? How many of you can say that? No one? No one can say, this is what an application that I receive today cost me via the particular channel that I use? No one in the audience has that data? So what this basically boils down to is that everybody who sits here really can't say at the end of the day what the actual cost per application is. That's very dramatic. But here's the good news. You're not the only one who's in that situation. And the even better news is that we can resolve that situation. I'm going to be speaking about big data, but we are not going to be using the word big data because big data is probably something of which you're much more aware of in terms of different terminologies, such as simple analytics, statistics. And actually that which big data stands for is nothing new. We just know it by different names. So that just as a starter, we are not talking about a new phenomenon, but we are talking about a very new impact in terms of that phenomenon. Now, the differentiation here in terms of what we had before and what we have today is A, the mere explosion of that data, and B, the accessibility of that data. The explosion of the data, obviously driven by this ubiquitous thing called the internet, and the ability to access this data driven by smart technologies, driven by even smarter algorithms, which manage to categorize this data and extrapolate certain correlations, causal relations, that essentially for you, the recruiter, the person, HR manager, bear essentially the promise of dramatically improving the way you go about doing your work every day. The trick of the matter is for you to find out A, how to speak to them, and B, equally important, if not more important, via which channel to speak to them. Because at the end of the day, job advertising, just like any advertising, is only as good as its ability to reach the audience for which it was intended. Which boils down to basically to the metaphorical candidate in the haystack being treated like a VIP. Now, what that means in the world of reaching the candidate is speaking to the candidate via the appropriate, most effective channel. So if I understand correctly, you would love to advertise on more, but you are faced with the challenge basically of evaluating efficiency. You're also faced with the challenge of basically mere pure manpower, which basically cumulatively create a prohibitive situation in regards to expanding your job board portfolio.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some good news for you, because essentially I would like you to imagine that with the push of a button, you could publish that one job across 3,500 job boards in the world. Would that help?
If they were the right job boards, for sure.
I want you to further imagine that you had the situation of advertising on 3,500 job boards across the world and knowing regarding every single one of them on a daily, hourly basis what your expenditure is in terms of getting a candidate from that respective job board.
That sounds fantastic. Tell me more.
Right. I think that what I'm seeing here are all the various job boards which you're deploying. And I understand that in terms of each candidate, there's a URL attached so that every candidate, in terms of the channel via which they arrive in your inbox, is identified in terms of the channel that they traveled, A. And I also understand further that you now, in terms of your own evaluation, marking these candidates, create certain statistics over a given period of time which tell you exactly which channel works for you for a given candidate. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
We started under the banner of big data, but what we actually talked about was, comparatively speaking, very small data. But here's the interesting thing. When I pose the question to the audience, how many of you actually have that type of information at your fingertips? Not one single hand went up. And we are not even talking about the other metrics which we are able to apply. This was just a snapshot. Everything that you've seen here again is not rocket science, but yet at the beginning, nobody raised their hands. If you have an interest, and I really, really hope that you do, in implementing this non-rocket science dramatic improvement vehicle, then do please come and visit us at stand F13, because there are many people who have visited us in the past who are our customers, who've implemented this very, very simple solution, who are very, very happy customers today, who have dramatically, through data-driven recruitment metrics, improved all their processes. On behalf of Claire and myself, thank you so much for your time today. And if you have any questions, please come up here, ask us, or come and see us at our stand. Be happy to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.